So the next session, the story of the next session is rather personal to all the Bhopalis, and especially the ones who have witnessed that scary night that we all call as the Bhopal gas tragedy. This session is titled as the BLF and Netflix presentation, making of the series The Railway Men, Shiv Rawail in conversation with Rahul Noronha. मैं चाहूँगा तालियों से हम राहुल जी और शिव जी का इस मंच पे स्वागत करेंगे. Shiv Rawail ji, a Yash Raj Films homegrown director. Shiv Rawail has been groomed for over 10 years under the mentorship of the visionary Indian filmmaker Aditya Chopra. Born and brought up in Mumbai, he joined the Yash Raj Films as an assistant director. Right after college, he has worked on YRF films like Dhoom 3, Fan, Befikre and lot more, where he was the assistant director to Aditya Chopra. Having spent a decade learning the ropes on major films produced by India's biggest production house, Yash Raj Films, Shivji made his directorial debut with Yash Raj Films Entertainment and Netflix, The Railway Men, and as I said, the Bhopalis know it better. It is a 4-episode thrilling drama that celebrates the unsung heroes, the railway employees of India, who went beyond their call of duty trying to save the lives of thousands of innocent citizens trapped in a helpless city of the fateful night of the Bhopal gas tragedy. I will request everyone to please welcome Shiv Rawail with a round of applause. As the discussant for this session, we are delighted to have Rahul Noronha ji with us. He is a senior associate editor at India Today, presently in charge of MP and Chhattisgarh. He has been a journalist since 2002 and have covered films, politics, wildlife, administration. He has worked formerly for the Hindustan Times and the Pioneer. He's also the recipient of the KP Narayan Award for Journalism. I think that calls for an applause. And is the member of State Audit Advisory Board, CAG. And with that, I would like to request the gentlemen to please begin the discussion, and we must support them with a round of applause.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome, Shiv. Welcome to Bhopal, the city where your series is based. I think we're going to start with the... excuse me? Siddharth?
Yes, sir.
Are we going to start with the trailer?
We have the presentation ready, yes.
Yeah, so let's start with that and then we'll...
Yes, please play the trailer, right? Yes, please play the trailer.
You'll have to dim the lights.
And turn off the lights, please, yes.
So, congratulations once again, Shiv, for this wonderful
Thank you.
debut that you've had now. I have a few questions in mind which I thought would interest the audience as well. So let's start with that.
Let's go right.
For some time now, Shiv, you must have noticed that the focus in films as well has moved out of big cities and it's now tier 2 cities, places like Bhopal. Of course, most of us here belong to this city, and we saw ourselves as a sleepy little quiet town until December, the intervening night of December 2 and 3, which changed how Bhopal was seen internationally for all times to come. How did this idea of making a series on this particular subject come about? If you can tell us in brief.
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure. And so to answer your question, I remember like this was September 2018, and the writer of the series, Ayush Gupta, he was introduced to me by a common contact we had, and I remember meeting him for a coffee in the YRF office. And at that time, I was looking for a film to direct, and I was meeting writers, and he was a young writer, like trying to make his mark and everything. And I had an idea which I was discussing with him, and I also told him that Ayush, if you have something, please share it with me. I'd love to read any concepts that you have that you love to write and make. And he shared a couple of concepts with me, and one of them was the story of what is now the Railwaymen. It was at that time, it was just like a 2-page concept note, and literally about that a gas leaked in Bhopal and this happened and how the railway saved lives. And when I read it, my mind was blown, because I was like, if someone can talk about the darkest night in modern Indian history through a lens of hope, courage, resilience, determination, I thought that would be the most fantastic story to tell. And it resonated with me immediately. And I remember going back into the office and to Mr. Aditya Chopra and telling him that, I think I have what we're looking for. And, and he read it and he had the same reaction. And that's when we went straight in and we were like, this story needs to be taken to the audiences.
Okay. You mentioned Aditya and Yashraj Films has recently branched out into a vertical which now makes web series. Yeah. And this is their debut. Yeah. So again, that is an interesting choice for a first time venture. What was going through, if you have an insight into that, what was going through Aditya Chopra's mind to decide on this?
So he's my mentor and he's a visionary, the way he thinks, and he always has an approach which is audience first, and he feels that as filmmakers our biggest responsibility is towards the audience, and we need to make movies that are entertaining, engaging, and tell stories that people would see throughout our country. And YRF has always had its presence in films, and we've predominantly made films for cinema. And obviously when this digital revolution kind of came about, we were thinking of how to take our first step into it, because I think he was very clear that whatever he makes on this platform needs to be Indian stories that can go beyond India, and stories that can be about India but told to the world, just the way we resonate with content that we see on the digital platforms from all around the world, which are local stories but just told on a global level. And that was his vision, to take this to do with the digital wing of the company. And I think when Railwaymen just came about, it initially was a feature film script, and it was his idea that when he was looking at branching into digital, that what if we convert this into a series? Because also at the same point we found ourselves trying to edit a lot of things from the feature film script, because the feature film format has a certain kind of restrictions. So it just fit hand in glove, and I think this was a story that really needed to be told globally, because not many people know about what happened in spite of the cost of lives.
No, you mentioned films. Films on the subject of the Bhopal gas tragedy have been attempted in the past.
Yes, they have.
Bhopal Express. And I think there's a Hollywood, Pray for It, which is a Hollywood production. So was that also playing at the back of your mind that you were doing something which has been attempted by other people, so this better be different?
No, so in my head, honestly, in fact, KK Menon, who's in the show, was also in Bhopal Express. But this was never at the back of my mind when I was making the Railwayman, because for me the predominant focus was something which was untold, which was the lens of this story, which was how it was being told from the eyes of heroes and from the eyes of people like regular people like you and I, who stood up on that night, went beyond their duty to save lives. Exactly, and that was a story we didn't know.
From what I could, the message which I got was about the triumph of the human spirit from that.
Always.
And unlikely heroes, people who on a day-to-day basis aren't doing anything great, they might be dishonest. There was a little bit of the dirty dozen in that, in the sense that there's this film which you must have watched,
of course.
where nothing's expected out of that group, but in the end they eventually
the underdogs always win.
Yeah. So the railway personnel are also an unlikely kind of choice as heroes. In films, heroes are most commonly police guys or army guys, but the railways is a regular sort of job. It's like having a bank clerk, a day regular 9 to 5 sort of thing. So this is also an interesting choice of hero that you've selected. How did this happen?
All heroes don't have to wear capes, right? And I think that was the biggest motivation to do this, that, you and I don't need to be heroes every day to do something that's going to define us. It can be one moment, it can be one action, it could be that one night or 1 hour or 1 minute where you did something beyond your line and your call, and you just did it for humanity. And you don't need to wear a cape, or you don't need to jump off buildings and fly planes and drive fast cars to do that.
You do your job.
You just do your job and do it with honesty, and that's what was the motivation, because it had to be about people who have their own trials and tribulations and who have a decision that, on a night like that, unfortunately, what happened, most of us sitting in this room were probably not even around, like we were not born when this happened. I wasn't born when this happened. And if I was in such a situation, I always think that what would I do? I don't know whether I would go and save lives, because it's kind of natural also that you would want to save yourself and your close ones. But when a situation like that does occur, we've had people like go beyond their line of duty and beyond what they didn't need to do.
It brings out the best and the worst in people.
Exactly. And that's why, the series also tries to do that, brings out the best in people, and then you have a thief who's there for another motive, but his change of heart, getting motivated by seeing someone rise to their best level and getting motivated and changing himself. So such instances can change you also. We've been fortunate enough, most of us in this room, to never have gone through something like this, and I hope we never do. But when we do, I think humanity will prevail. Yeah.
Now let me come to the casting bit. You had some of the most versatile and powerful actors in today's time working with you: Madhavan, KK Menon, Divyendu, who's become very, critically acclaimed now, and others. So how was it for you working with them? Because, these are like towering personalities of the acting world.
No, I think they were just amazing to work with. And I think, everyone had only one thing which was common, which was the love for the script. So I think when they did when they did take this on, I think they understood what we were trying to do with it. And see, the truth is, like a subject like this and a story like this demands a certain kind of level that it needs to be told at, and that also means that you need a lot of money to tell stories like this, because you want to show it to people. Like, there is no visual of what happened then, right? So to recreate that, you kind of need to have someone who understands this backing you. So I think when the actors also they loved the script and they understood that YRF is backing this, and we're going to put in YRF is going to put in everything into making this show. So I think they also came in fully hands-on, and I think we were just like a great team, everyone working together just for the love of that material and the real motivation to have the story told. So I think everyone from Babil, who was really young and just on his second project at the time, to KK sir and Maddie sir, who've been like stalwarts. I think each one put in the same or more.
Can you tell us a little bit about how these actors prepared for these roles? Because I noticed Babil acquired a Bhopali accent for that. So how did that happen? Did he interact with people here, or how did?
The thing is, when we started characterizing the actors, like we started giving them nuances, and in our pre-production we keep like adding things to them. The thing is, most of them work for the railways, so they probably worked in like different cities across India. So not many of them have the accent. And then there's Divyendu, whose character is from Delhi, so he had the the Delhi wala accent. But Babil actually belonged to Bhopal in the show. So it was very important that him and everyone around him needed to have that accent. So we had a linguist, a dialogue a coach with him, and he trained with him for his accent. And he also did workshops with this lovely actor named Vikas Kumar, who's acted in Kala Pani recently, if you guys have seen the show. Yeah, fantastic.
It's really nice to hear that there's so much work going into.
Yeah. Like Babil, I think worked for like his workshops on his accent and his just his acting workshops were like 6 months. So he really like had to get each word like right. And in fact, his dialogue supervisor Akshat was from Bhopal, is from Bhopal rather, and he trained him, and it was literally like getting every word correct, like factory becoming factory, and getting that small twang correct just to feel authentic, because the last thing we wanted is people from here feeling that it doesn't feel authentic. So I think that was very important, and I think he did a great job. Like, I mean, he worked really hard in that show. And yes, a lot of work does go into each.
Preparing actors.
Preparing everything.
Now I must come to come back to the Bhopal gas tragedy and the events around it. For a lot of people, it's an extremely sensitive subject. I think before COVID hit the world, people in Bhopal, the biggest tragedy they had seen was the Bhopal gas tragedy. So how did y'all ensure that this subject is tackled with utmost extreme sensitivity because of what is involved in it?
I always say this, and I've said this in a couple of questions that have been thrown at me about this earlier as well. I think it comes down to two things. As a creative individual, it comes down to two things, which is your intention and your aesthetic. And there are a lot of like young kids sitting out here, and that's really important to like kind of know that as a creator, as a director, as a writer, as an individual who wants to express his art. I think it's very important to know that firstly your intention has to be in the right place. When we set out to make Railwaymen, we never set out to sensationalize. We always set out to tell the story in the best way possible, represent it in the best way possible. But obviously, it's cinema, so it has to be cinematic. It has to have its ebbs and flows, but it has to, the intent has to be correct. And the second thing is the aesthetic. I think I was lucky enough to surround myself with the best technicians, cinematographers, production designers, costume, hair, makeup, wardrobe, who understood that we can't sensationalize this. It has to be aesthetically correct. Like, even if we are showing a dead body, or we are showing the post-mortem of a body, or we are showing lungs, or we are kind of representing what happened to human life, whether it's the baby and the mother, everything had to be done with an aesthetic value and an aesthetic touch, and without sensationalizing things. So I think it just comes down to these two things, and I think if creators and artists are clear about this and they have this in the right place, I think that's what we started off with. And
were there moments while you were filming this that the actors were so terribly moved by what they were doing that it was they were thinking about it? And
when we started making the series, I think predominantly most of the series is based on the Bhopal railway station. And the Bhopal railway station, when we set out to make the show, we didn't know how to do this, because we had I think 3 hours of material on that railway station, on that one location. So we actually built a railway station out. We built like a 500-foot platform with trains moving up and down, and created everything really. So I think when the actors did come on the set, it was as if they entered that night And of course, like the representation of that night, which was in my head and my team's head, because there are not really many pictures from the night. There are pictures from the morning after, but there are no like videos and pictures from the day. So I think when they did walk in and they saw that kind of destruction, I think they like that kind of moved them so much that everything was made so believable. It can't be real. It was more believable than real. But I think when they saw that, they were just, I think that pushed them to just perform better, because they were so blown by how we wanted them to perform and create that right environment. So I think they were just really moved. In fact, we shot some scenes with Sunny Hinduja, who plays the reporter Kumawat, in the actual gas widow colony, so in Bhopal. So I think those things were really like kind of moving, and we shot some scenes with Babil and Sunny again on the railway tracks right outside the factory again. So those things were kind of like surreal to be in, because we wrote those sitting in a room on Zoom, and then to see it come alive on location is crazy.
What is the kind of national and international feedback that you have received after the series?
No, I think the show has been, the feedback has been overwhelming, and I think it's amazing to hear such things, and I'm like really like God has blessed blessed me with everything to give me this kind of love. I never expected so much, and it's just coming every day. Like in fact, I was at lunch this afternoon at a restaurant I used to come when I was shooting in Bhopal. And the manager over there came up to me and he said, I watched it 5-7 times.
Which restaurant was this?
This was Laziz Hakim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to go there all the time when I was shooting in Bhopal. And right now, these kids came out like when I was here, and they said they love the show so much. So it's constantly happening. And I was on a holiday a couple of weeks ago. I was at the airport and was walking down the Aero Bridge, and I saw someone watching the show on their phone while I was watching down. And I was flying back from Delhi. The guy next to me is watching the show. So it's amazing to see all this happening.
Correct.
I mean,
see your work being appreciated like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the best part is when you see someone watching it, and they're just so engaged, but you don't step up and tell them that this is mine. You're just loving the fact that they're watching it, because you don't want to put them in a spot. What if they didn't like it? So I think it was amazing that to see all that. But yeah, the love has been crazy. I think we ended up being the most watched Indian show on Netflix.
Right.
And I think that's a matter of pride for our country. I think, that's amazing. So I think it was like great.
You've been an AD in feature films as well.
Yes.
And so
how only feature films.
Yeah. So how does this compare, making a web series compare with a feature film?
So it's a different kind of journey altogether.
Sorry, this is a very technical question for film students probably. But
Yeah. So I think, when you're making a film, it's very clear. You have a beginning, you have a middle, which is your interval, especially in Hindi films, and you have your end. So what happens is that you have your characters who start off with something, they have a problem. Then at the interval, the problem reaches its highest point, and the second half they solve that problem. That's predominantly the structure of a feature film, right? But when you go into a series, each episode needs to have that. So each episode has its own beginning, middle, end, and the whole series has its own beginning, middle, end. And each character has their own beginning, middle, end. Like every object has its own beginning, middle, end. So that's how the structuring of series is different from feature filmmaking. So it's like a different ball game altogether. It was difficult, but a lot of fun. And in my head, I treated Railwayman like a 4-hour feature film.
Right.
So that was how I approached it. But obviously, I was like, the next time I have to do it, I don't know how it's going to happen, because
Two very quick questions, Shiv.
Sure.
One is, I was chatting with you about this outside as well. Just before the credit roll, there are some real life personalities that are mentioned. Rajkumar Keswani, late Rajkumar Keswani was an eminent journalist from Bhopal who broke the story about Union Carbide having been issued.
fantastic. I mean, his work is
the German toxicologist, the railway official played by Madhavan. They are mentioned by name. Why is the deputy station superintendent on whom the story is based, why is he not mentioned?
So the story is actually not based on anyone as such. It's based on a variety of material that was available in the public domain, and things we spoke to people about, heard from people, grandmother's tales and things we read in the newspapers, etc. And made into this one story. So a lot of people have this thing that KK Menon's character is based on someone specific. It's not based on anyone. No one's character is based on a specific person as well. In fact, even the credit rolls, I think you're referring to Mr. Gauri Shankar, but Mr. Gauri Shankar, like nowhere does it say also there that it's based on like Maddie's character is based on him. These are just like things that we found interesting, which we thought the audience should know. So nothing was really based on anyone specific. It's all like a mix of multiple stories to give ebbs and flows to characters.
Last question.
Yeah.
What are you doing next? What should we look forward to?
Nice.
So before the last round of all the interviews, when people asked me this, all I said is the next thing is a holiday. But now the holiday is over, so I literally need to get back to work. I got back only yesterday. Yeah, there is. I'm discussing some things, and there is some like stuff going on. Whatever's next is with Yashaj. Anyway, so. Yeah, so something's going on. Hopefully, you guys will know about it soon. Yeah.
Great.
Chalo. Thank you so much. Lovely having you in Bhopal for the Big Fest.
Thank you so much, Shiv and Rahulji. I would like to invite Mr. Raghav Chandra ji on stage, the President of Society for Culture and Environment, to please present our authors and discuss it with a token of love and appreciation. That is the mascot of BLF 2024, inspired by the ancient tales developed by the senior most Gond artist, Sri Ram Singh Urveti ji. This reflects a motif rooted in timeless stories